The sunflowers are pretty much done. They're not really flowering anymore, and the birds haven't really been super interested in the flower heads that are on here, so it's gonna be time to clean them out of the garden. Just need to make some space, and I find it's a little bit easier to clean them in the fall than it is in the spring. So today's the day, it's nice out, good day to be out here doing some work, so we're gonna do some actual physical labor today and rip out these beasts. Okay, so there's my mountain of sunflowers, and we still have a lot more to go. Okay, so let me explain some of the method to my madness here. So these right here I've left with a big long stalk, and the reason why I didn't pull these ones up like how I pulled up the other ones is they're just growing too close to my plants here, and the root balls on these things, they're like, you know, they're massive. They're twice the size of my head. So if I was to pull this out, it would actually rip out a ton of the kale that's in this bed. So what I've done here is I've left a good chunk of stalk so that it is long enough that Ian can get in there with 2 hands and rip it out come spring when all this kale comes out. And basically it's just going to sit there, rot a little bit until then. Here's an example of the damage that can actually be done when you rip it out. You can see the hole that I have here and the fact that a bunch of stuff did get disturbed around here. So I did lose some plants, but it was nothing that I'm not willing to lose. So this was a spot that it was fine to rip out. Over in this area, it's a little bit of a different story because I actually have a bunch of squash that have grown up and into the sunflowers here. So they're actually using the sunflowers as a trellis, and I don't want to damage them because these squash actually still have fruit that they're ripening on it. So I'm trying to dig out some of the sunflowers in here without damaging the squash, but I'm going to leave what needs to be left there. This is actually my compost, so I'm not too worried about anything getting left in the ground here, because the only things that grow here are just self-seeded stuff. So if there's a big root ball that's going to take a couple years to rot out, you know, survival of the fittest, they'll do their thing. Sitting in my pile of sunflowers that I need to clean up, and thought I'd quickly talk to you a bit about our sunflowers. We've actually never planted a sunflower into our garden. Every single sunflower that has ever grown out of here has grown out of some sort of bird dropped seed that has fallen into our yard and then just self-seeded from there. Even with the amount of sunflowers that we have in here, I spend the entire spring just ripping out sunflower babies. So I'm definitely a pro at spotting sunflower seedlings. I enjoy them. I let them grow in spots where they're not really getting in the way of anything I planted. If, like, you'd maybe notice a lot of them were kind of along paths. They drive Ian crazy because he wants to be able to get in and out of the paths easily, and I don't mind. I can walk past a sunflower. But so there's usually a beginning of summer cull that is initiated by him when I'm not looking. But, you know, they're pretty, they add something to the garden, and it is fun to see how much the birds really love them. As I said, at this point, the birds have slowed down. They have a lot of other seeds that are in season now. They don't necessarily need to be into the sunflowers, and so because I haven't seen them in there as much, you know, might as well clean it up a little bit. I got some time. The weather's really nice today. So the last step that I have for these is I'm actually going to drag these over into an area where we don't really have anything planted. We have a dirt pile, and I'm going to lay them out. That's going to give the birds another opportunity to get in there. It is one of our quietest areas, so they're the most likely to feel comfortable there without us always interrupting them all the time. So I'll lay them out. They can have at her over the the winter, basically until we get snow on it. They'll be good to go. And yeah, and then at that point, I'm probably just gonna let them age and get a little bit brittle. And then in the spring, when we're restacking our compost pile, Ian will probably go at them with a machete. He likes chopping them up, and you know, it's a good way for him to get some energy out. So that works well. Sometimes I also use the dried out sunflower stalks as stakes. They're quite long and they are quite strong. So they do have purposes too if you want to repurpose them, but. Oh, here's Leah. Are you gonna clean up the sunflowers too? Oh, you're gonna dig them up with your shovel. Okay, so if you like growing sunflowers, if you like growing sunflowers, let us know below. I am interested in maybe planting some for real next year, so let me know if there's a variety that you really like, if you grow it or not, and I'll check it out. And we'll see you next time. I'm gonna kill it. Ugh. And that's how you prune a sunflower.